If you're a property investor or want to start investing in property, you need to be using interest-only loans. You've probably heard the term thrown around, but most people still don't understand what they are, how they work, and why smart investors use them. So today, I'm going to break it all down in simple, real-world language. By the time you finish this video, you'll know what an interest-only loan is, exactly how investors use it to grow wealth faster, all the pros, all the cons, and the strategies that separate the everyday investors from the smart ones. And I promise you, once you understand this properly, you'll never look at property finance the same way again. My name's Nick. I'm a mortgage broker with Kingfisher Finance Group, and I specialize in helping first-time buyers and investors get into the property market and structure their loans in a way that actually supports their long-term goals. First up, what actually is an interest-only loan? It's exactly what it sounds like. For a certain period of time, usually somewhere between 1 and 5 years, you only pay the interest portion of your loan. You're not reducing the principal balance at all. Your loan balance stays exactly the same during that period. If you borrowed $600,000, then even 5 years later, the balance is still $600,000. Now, most people hear that and freak out. They go, why would I want a loan that never goes down? But here's the truth, and this is what the smart investors know that most everyday homeowners don't. Paying down investment debt isn't always the smartest financial move. It's not always the most efficient way to build wealth, and you'll understand why in a minute. So, why do interest-only loans exist? And why do investors specifically use them? The simplest answer is cash flow. When you're only paying interest, your repayments are significantly lower, often hundreds of dollars each month. That extra breathing room is incredibly valuable to investors. It means you can comfortably hold a property with less financial pressure, and that alone changes the game. It's not just about lower payments. Smart investors use that freed up cash strategically, and this is where the average investor falls behind. A point that most people completely overlook is that if you have any non-deductible debt, such as your own occupied mortgage, car loans, personal loans, or even credit cards, paying off the principal on your investment property is usually the worst thing that you can do. This is because all the interest you pay on that investment loan is tax deductible. So keeping the loan balance higher for longer actually means a larger tax deduction. It sounds counterintuitive, but for investors, it's true. Every dollar you pay towards the investment loan is coming out of your pocket after tax, as paying down a debt that is tax deductible. But if you keep your investment loans interest only, you can redirect all that extra cash straight into your non-deductible debts, the ones that give you zero tax benefit. That means your owner-occupied mortgage gets paid down faster, your personal loans disappear quicker, and you're keeping more money in your pocket at the end of the day. That alone can save families tens of thousands of dollars. It's one of the biggest efficiency hacks that most people don't even know exist. Let's say you've got an investment loan on interest-only payments, and you've now freed up an extra $500 a month compared to if you were on principal and interest payments. A smart investor doesn't take that $500 and blow it on eating out and weekends away. They use that money to do things like pay down their non-deductible home loan faster, build up an offset account as a safety buffer, or even put it towards a deposit for the next property. That's how people grow their portfolios while others struggle to afford even one property. So now let's get into the pros and the cons, the details that the investors care about. Let's start with the pros. The first big one is lower repayments and stronger cash flow. This is the most obvious reason people choose interest-only loans. Instead of paying the principal and interest, you're only paying the interest portion, which means your cash flow improves instantly. This gives you more flexibility, more breathing room, and more ability to handle things like vacancies or repairs without having to sweat. The second benefit is maximizing tax deductible interest. Because the loan balance doesn't go down during the interest-only period, the interest amount stays high, meaning the tax deduction is larger. And again, this only applies to investment loans, not your home loan. Smart investors love this because it means they're not wasting any after-tax dollars paying down tax-deductible debt. They keep their cash flow freer and direct their money towards smarter places. The third benefit, you can prioritize your non-deductible debt. This is huge and most people don't understand how powerful this actually is. Imagine you've got a $500,000 home loan that's non-tax deductible and a $600,000 investment loan that is tax deductible. If you go principal and interest on the investment loan, you're basically wasting after-tax income paying down a tax-deductible loan. But if you go interest only, you can funnel all that spare cash into your home loan, your non-deductible debt, where it actually makes the biggest difference to your overall financial position. This alone can shave years off your home loan while still allowing you to hold an investment property. Another benefit is flexibility. A lot of investors use interest only for short-term strategies. Maybe they're planning a renovation and want to keep their cash flow open for the improvements, or maybe they're planning to sell within a few years and there's simply no point paying down the principal if the property is going to be sold anyway. And one last benefit worth discussing is taking advantage of inflation and riding capital growth. Most investors aren't buying property because they love the idea of paying down a loan. They're buying property because the property value tends to grow. So if the property is increasing in value while the loan stays the same, your net worth still increases, even though you're not paying off the loan. And inflation also works in your favor here. Over time, your loan stays the same number, but the value of the money decreases. So that debt becomes easier and easier to manage. All right, now we've talked about the benefits, but interest-only loans aren't perfect, and I'd never recommend them blindly. There are definitely some real downsides you need to be aware of. The biggest one is that you may end up paying more interest over the life of the loan. You're not reducing the loan during the interest-only period, so you're paying the interest on the full amount for longer. Most lenders also charge a slightly higher interest rate for interest-only loans, which adds to the long-term cost. The next con is there's no automatic equity build. During the interest-only period, you're not paying down the loan, which means the only equity you gain is through market growth or through the money you save in your offset. If you're not buying strategically and the market stalls or dips, your equity doesn't grow. You're relying 100% on the capital growth to do the heavy lifting here. Another con is the repayment shock that can happen when the interest-only period ends and your loan flips automatically to principal and interest. When this happens, your repayments can jump significantly, sometimes by hundreds of dollars a week. And if your interest-only period was long, you now have fewer years to pay back the loan, so the principal portion becomes much steeper. Another risk is the refinancing. Not everyone realizes this, but you're not guaranteed to get another interest-only period approved in the future. If your income changes, if lending policies tightened, or if the property value drops, your ability to refinance or extend the interest-only term can disappear. And then you're stuck with big principal and interest payments, whether you're ready or not. And this risk is multiplied the more properties that you own with interest-only payments. It's also a common misconception that interest-only loans mean you're able to borrow more money due to the repayments being lower. However, it is actually the opposite. When you take out an interest-only loan, the banks will typically assess your repayments on the principal and interest period, not the interest-only period. Meaning if you have a 5-year interest-only period, you will then have to pay the entire loan off over the remaining 25 years with a much higher monthly payment. And this is what the bank tends to look at. The exception to this is that some lenders will look at your current interest-only loans differently. Instead of looking at the principal and interest payments, they will assess you based on what your current repayments are. However, this is not the case for all lenders, and bank policies are continuously changing, so I would not rely on these policies too much. Moving on, there's also behavioral risks, and honestly, this is one of the biggest dangers. If you take an interest-only loan and then spend the extra cash instead of using it strategically, you're just paying more interest for no actual benefit. The whole point of interest only is to redirect your cash flow into smarter places. The last point worth noting is the potential tax traps. If you mix personal use and investment use in the same loan, you can mess up your tax deductions. You've got to keep your loan splits clean. You don't want to redraw from an investment loan for private expenses because that part of the interest becomes non-deductible. So with all these pros and cons, who should actually be using interest-only loans? They work best for people who understand cash flow and have a clear strategy. For investors who know how to manage buffers, how to use offsets, and how to prioritize non-deductible debt, and how to plan for the end of the interest-only period. They also work brilliantly for people who want to scale a portfolio or have a short to medium term plan for the property. But they're not ideal for people who just want the cheapest repayments without a plan, or people who panic when repayments change, or people who think interest only is some magic shortcut. It's not, it's a tool, and it's a very powerful tool when used correctly. Let me give you a few examples of how successful investors use interest-only loans in the real world. Example 1, the debt recycling investor. They might have a big home loan that's not tax deductible and an investment loan that is. They put the investment property on interest only, aggressively paying down their home loan with every spare dollar. And once that's paid off, they redirect that cash flow back into the investments. This gets them ahead far faster than paying down the investment loan early. Example number 2 is a portfolio builder. Someone who wants to buy multiple investment properties over a 5 to 10 year period. They use interest-only loans so they can maintain positive or neutral cash flow on each property, building up deposits in their offset from the rental income and savings, and continue to buy more assets before switching later to principal and interest payments, or even selling a few of the properties instead to clear all the debts. Example number 3 is the value-add investor. Maybe they're buying something they plan to renovate or develop. Interest only keeps their loan repayments low while they upgrade the property. Once it's rented out for more, they might then decide to switch back to P&I, or maybe they keep their repayments on interest only to keep the cash flow higher. And then there's the investor who plans to sell in a few years. If the plan is short term, there's no point paying down the principal on a loan when you're just going to be paying it out anyway. The common theme here is simple. Interest only is not about avoiding paying off the loan. It's about controlling your cash flow so you can build wealth more efficiently. So to wrap it all up, interest-only loans are not for everyone. They're not some magical hack that guarantees success, but in the hands of an intelligent, strategic investor, they can be one of the most effective tools. They give you cash flow flexibility, they let you prioritize the right debts, and they can help you scale. They maximize your tax efficiency, and when paired with long-term capital growth, they can accelerate your net worth growth significantly. Just make sure that if you're using interest only, you're doing it with an intention, with a plan, with buffers, and with the understanding that one day the interest only period ends and you need to be ready for that moment. If you found this breakdown helpful and want more videos like this, make sure to hit subscribe, give this video a like, and drop a comment down below with a topic or video you want me to cover next. If you want help structuring your loans in a way that actually supports your goals, you can use the link in the description to book a free chat with me and the Kingfisher team. Thanks for watching, I'll see you in the next one.